everyone. Welcome to Financial Revelations. I am your host, David Szafranski, and I am tired. As you know, I have these Ukrainian friends that we go to the jungle with, and they've got a great church out in Broadview Heights area on Wallings Road. I got to tell you, it is an awesome church. They have tons of people there. They've got tons of kids there, they like the schwitz, and they go and they do this like a sauna into a cold plunge. And I called them and I said, hey, let's do that. And so we did it. And Tuesday night, I didn't get home till like midnight. And just, all good, clean fun, no drinking or anything like that. Just camaraderie, steaks that were like as big as my head. And as you know, I have a large head. And then yesterday, I was in Houston all day, flew to Houston. Got up at 3:30 in the morning, flew to Houston, flew back last night. But I'm going to perform at peak level performance for you today. So don't forget, Sin of Retirement, the sinofretirement.com, sinofretirement.com. You can get the book, you can get the audio book, you can get the written book. We're coming out with a small group study and a personal workbook for the book to go through the book to kind of, it's one thing to tell you, hey, this is what I want you to be thinking about. I don't tell you what you should do. Only you know what you should do. But here are some things to think about. And now I got to put a tool in your hand to help you do those things. And that's what we're going to do. We're also coming out with an app. All these things will be out in the next couple of months. So stay tuned for those things. But if you go to sinofretirement.com, you can buy a shirt that says, communism sucks. And this would be a great gift to for your moron socialist dirtbag friend. We all have one of those where they say things like, well, has it ever really been tried? And there's a litany of dumb things that socialists, which is really just communists. There's very little difference between a socialist and a communist, and anybody that is away from capitalism. They're basically heading towards that system. So you're either heading towards capitalism, and by the way, when they say capitalism is broke, that is one of the stupid things that they say. Capitalism is not broke. Capitalism is operating just fine. They're just losers, and they don't like the way it operates. They don't like that there's accountability in capitalism, or at least there should be. There have been times where we've, bailed out the banks and things like that, and I understand there's times where you have to do extraordinary things. Hopefully they are very, very rare, and that we never see that again in our lifetimes. But in capitalism, there's accountability. There's winners and losers. In socialism, there's just losers. Everybody loses, except for the people at the very top. They're driving around in black SUVs, and they're not electric. They'll be gas operated. They'll have guards who will have guns, and they have to protect themselves from you because you get mad at them because they're like, well, you need us to guide you. So we have to remember in COVID when Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, was getting her hair cut. She said, well, I have to look nice. And nobody believed that was her real hair. We just thought it was like Brillo pad she had glued to her head. It looked so bad. And Nancy Pelosi got her hair cut when you couldn't. You could not get a haircut. Now, we've seen the Fauci the hearing where he pleaded the fifth. He's never going to go to jail. They did. Rand Paul's committee is going to. They found him in contempt of Congress. We'll see what happens. In all honesty, he probably shouldn't go to jail, but maybe he will. I don't know. So go to the website, sinofretirement.com. There's hats, there's T-shirts, there's sweatshirts there. If you want to wear a Gulf of America shirt, which everybody should wear, why don't we call it Gulf of Mexico? Look, we're America. Everything should be Gulf of America. So anyway, nativosusa.org, that's the site for the mission trips. I'm going to put up, we got a new church building being built in Mauez. I'll put up some pictures of that. I'm going to send them to you, Corey. Okay. This is the church in Mauez. It's not in a village. This is our church. This is the church in the city that Nativos runs. They've got a lot of people that come to church. It's exciting. We own the land. They bought the land a few years ago. As you can imagine, land in Mauez, not premium pricing for the most part. Now, there is a caveat here. And the caveat is if you're an American and you want to go buy land in Brazil, you should have a Brazilian do it for you. Because once they know that you're from out of the country, the price is quadruple. But I have no plans as of right now to buy a house in Mauez. You're going to love it. So I'm going to put up some pictures of the construction. It moves slow. They don't have a cement truck in Mauez. There's no cement truck. So how do they mix cement? Well, in these mixers that spin, it's pretty big. We used one on the mission base last time we were there. You saw pictures of that if you went to the website. And you could go with us if you want. We're going next year. So I'll show you those pictures. It's pretty cool how things work. They just work slow. Okay, let's get to finances now. Iran is in the news this week because we were going to bomb them. Supposedly the biggest military campaign since World War II, put on hold because a lot of our Gulf allies like Saudi Arabia and Oman and some other people, Qatar, they asked the president not to do it. They wanted to give diplomacy one more chance. I personally think it's a mistake, and I'm going to differ with the president on this. When you have your foot on the necks of the enemy, choke them out. They've earned the right to find the pointy end of our missiles. And I wish we would have done it. We could have done it. We should do it. We probably will still do it. I hope we do it. We have a chance to break this regime. And really, I do believe this. It's different than Iraq. Remember when we went to Iraq and Dick Cheney said, well, they're going to greet us with flowers, or Donald Rumsfeld maybe said they're going to greet us with flowers. And they didn't. They greeted us with IEDs. And a lot of our troops got hurt there, and we spent a long time there. The Persian people are different. They don't want this regime. And I don't know that they would welcome us with flowers. I really don't care. It's not about that. I don't want to be liked over there. I don't care if the whole world hates Americans as long as we're safe and we do here what we know we should do. And, when people say, well, Donald Trump is ruining our reputation with the Europeans. Well, the Europeans suck. Okay, they're letting their country get run into their countries get run into the ground by unchecked immigration. They suck. And you can't go there right now to a lot of places because of what they're allowing to happen to their own population. Well, we're not going to do that. I do not care if France likes us. In fact, I hope France hates us. I hope they don't come here. And same thing with everybody else over there. I could care less if they like us. And I could care less if they like our president. They're a bunch of pansies. And I do believe that. I probably will get if I try and go there, I'll probably get stopped at the border. But they don't stop anybody at the border in Europe right now, so I think I'm safe. But they'll stop me. We'd probably be back at the bombing campaign in Iran. I don't know. I think we should be, but we're giving peace a chance. We'll see if it works. But I think the markets now are in the I don't really care phase about what goes on overseas. If it was happening here, we would care deeply, passionately. The market would be getting crushed. But when it happens over there, wherever over there is, eventually the market says, yeah, I read that. I read about that. I read that we were bombing Iran still. I remember when buses in Israel were blowing up like crazy. I mean, massive terrorism. The market, whatever. The market didn't care. And I think that's where we're getting to. And oil's been fairly well behaved. It's like right around $80 a barrel. I was in Houston yesterday. I got gas. What do you think I got gas for in Houston yesterday? $3.72. Would you be happy with $3.72 here? Heck, I would be. I got an F-150. So anyway, we're getting close to the end of this. Hold on. But it brings me to what I really want to talk about today. And I used AI for this because It's extraordinary. If you don't use AI, and I'm not just talking about cheating in your exams in college and high school, but if you could apply AI to what you do for a living, it is really awesome. And the things that used to take us weeks to research literally now takes less than an hour. And you can put together lists. And in fact, I've got an index that I'm putting together, and I am beta testing it backwards to see how it performed over time. And I'm running some other things on it. I'm going to bring it out to you guys in a little bit. Not right now, it's not ready yet, but so I'm trying to poke holes in my theory, is what I'm trying to do. I like to be challenged intellectually, physically, emotionally. I like to be challenged. And sometimes I have to challenge myself, but I like to have people around me that challenge me. And this is a way to challenge your theory, is to run it through these filters. So I've often told you that being invested in most cases is more important than what you're invested in. Now, of course, it's important that you don't own crappy things, but even good stocks, and I'll give you an example. Palantir, one of my favorite stocks of all time outside of Micron. Palantir has taken it on the chin since the beginning of the year. It's been an underperformer. People have told me why you need to cycle out of Palantir and go into something better. And I'm telling you, when you own a good company, they go through bad times and they find their way. Palantir did. Palantir found their way, and it's going to get way better, I believe, for Palantir. It's not a guarantee. I'm not telling you to go out and buy it. You got to make sure it fits into your portfolio, okay? So, but listen, if you are invested in decent things and you just hold them throughout the year, okay? So you're invested all year. Let's take 2025. This is what I ran through AI. If you were invested in the QQQ, which is the index for the NASDAQ, every investable day of 2025, okay, so every day last year you were invested in the QQQ and index, you made 20.16%. So in essence, you put in 10 grand on January 1st. At the end of the year, you had $12,016. Okay. Now let's say you take out the 10 best trading days of 2025. So just 10 days, not even a month, you're out. Okay. You're just out of the market for the 10 best trading days of 2025. Just 10 days. I mean, that's not a lot of time when you think about it. Most of you probably take vacations that are longer than 10 days. Corey's always on vacation for like 10, 12 days at a time. It's hard to track where she's going around the world. So 10 days, that's it. Took your money out for 10 days. Your rate of return, guess what your rate of return is? I'm going to count to 5. And as I'm counting to 5, you're going to be thinking of a number in your head, okay? And promise me you're going to do this. So if you were invested every day, you made 20.16%. If you are out for the 10 best trading days, what do you think your rate of return was out the best 10 trading days? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Minus 15%. The best 10 trading days change your rate of return from plus 20 to minus 15. That's a 35% swing for being out for just 10 trading days. This is why when we had this, I don't want to go into too much detail, but somebody was investing with us, constantly trading in and out of things. You know, when you watch a financial show like CNBC or Fox Business or Bloomberg, don't watch Bloomberg, by the way. They are communists. And they have a money manager on, and they'll say things like, well, we came out of our position of this stock and we came out of this position. What I think is I just created a tax for everybody in that position. And a lot of our people are taxed at 40%. I don't want to create. I want to be as tax efficient as I possibly can. So what you do is you hold until you get the capital gains tax rates, and then maximum cap gains rate is 23.6 because there's an Obamacare tax on there, but it can be as low as 10. So I want to be tax efficient. So I tend to hold a little bit longer. So you buy good things and you hold them. Well, then we have this person who's every time the stock is down, they're like, oh, what are you doing? They're trading out. And then it goes back up and they trade back in. I can guarantee you that their rate of return sucked. And finally, I convinced them not to do that. Just, you hire me for a reason. Why do you hire me? You hire me to keep you in for the best 10 trading days of the year. When you want to get out and you want to just run and hide and put your money in a mason jar and bury it in the backyard someplace, and I'm convincing you not to do that, this is why. The 10 best trading days were extraordinary. The worst of the 10 best trading days was up 2%. What happened this week? We had one of the best trading days of the year. And if you were out for that trading day, your rate of return is going to suffer. Now, I can't tell you how much it's going to suffer because I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the year. But I'm telling you, you've got to be in the market. You cannot win unless you play. And playing in the stock market isn't trying to outguess the sharpest guy on the street. They have access to information that you might not have. They do things, they pay people to research, and they're not always right, by the way. But I can tell you this, and I learned this from Chuck Fulgraff, and I can say his name because he's deceased. He's one of the smartest investors I ever met. And he was the number 2 or 3 guy at Procter & Gamble in the entire company for a long time. And even after he retired, he kept an office, and the CEOs would consult with Chuck because he was so wise. And he would just tell you, good companies go through bad times, David. You just got to let them work it out. And I tried to get him to give me his Procter & Gamble stock, and he would from time to time, but mainly he would just laugh at me. Because I would always call him when Procter & Gamble was down. I always made sure to call him when Procter & Gamble was down. And by and large, I could outperform Procter & Gamble, but he was Procter & Gamble. And so he didn't want to sell he had a lot of stock in Procter & Gamble. And he let me take some of it. And we did outperform the stock. But, you have a great year and Procter & Gamble's here, and then you have a technology kind of sells off a little bit, but Procter & Gamble's kind of steady Eddie. It catches up. Things average out over time. So the 10 best trading days a year added 35% rate of return in the QQQ in 2025. That's why you have to stay in the market. So when Palantir's beat up, or AMD is beat up, and Microsoft is beat up, you see the days that Microsoft is having? I mean, great companies find their way. Now, one of the things about Microsoft that's always intrigued me is, especially with the phone, Microsoft had a phone at one time. And what they did is they let everybody develop a phone. And then they came out and they developed a way worse phone. So they do have some bad ideas from time to time. And there are stocks that I've completely taken out of portfolios. I will not have them in a portfolio, at least right now. For instance, they would be, and I might have a little bit of this in 1 or 2 portfolios, but I'm not buying any more, and I've taken them out of most portfolios, like Disney out, Nike out, Target out, Lulu out, Starbucks out. Starbucks is in a recovery mode right now, and their CEO is turning things around, but I don't want to be there for it. And I think they still have rough times ahead. In essence, a lot of these companies got way too political, and they were in a rebuilding phase. Nike is getting decimated. Nike came out of golf. Do you know how much money people spend on golf? On golf clothes, on golf clubs, on golf balls, on the latest golf club. There's a Callaway driver right now that I'm going to try Friday. I'm probably going to buy it. Why? Because it promises that I can hit the ball farther. Will I be able to? Probably not. But I'm going to try. And they came out of that market. They just came out. They just said, we're not doing golf anymore. That's stupid. And they got super political. Starbucks, always super political. Now, the new CEO is clamping down on this. For instance, if you go into a Starbucks now, the baristas in Starbucks are basically philosophy students who could never get a job. They're living in their parents' basements. They have blue hair. And you know what? Every time somebody with blue hair walks into a therapy appointment, I'll bet you the therapist just says, I'm getting a new boat out of this. But they've kind of clamped down on the buttons they can wear, the political messaging, all these things. Why? Because their job is to serve coffee. That's what they do. They're known for coffee. I don't want to get told why transgenderism is great when I'm getting a latte. And I'm not going to tip you either if you do that. The tipping culture is out of control. I was at a place the other day where the minimum tip, the like you do it on an iPad and then the tip options come up. The minimum tip was 30%. I'm like, listen, in any world that I'm ever going to live in, if you're not like rotating my tires in the parking lot, you are not getting 30%. And I'm not cheap. I am not cheap. But 30%, okay, we're overboard here. So those stocks, so I do take stocks out of portfolios, and there's others too. You might not know the names, but those are the biggest ones that I could think of right before I came in here. So August 4th and 5th, just this week, great examples of why you stay in the market for those 10 best days. And that's why I am who I am. That's why we've made people so much money, because when people call here and beg me to take them out of the market, I tell them why we're not going to do that. I tell them why I love these companies like Palantir, like Micron, like Microsoft and Meta, and there's a lot of names that I love. Meta's really beat up right now. I love this name. Do you know that in Meta, which is Facebook, they have across all of their platforms, they have 3.2 billion people a day accessing a Meta platform in some way, shape, or form. How many people are on the planet? About half of them, about half of the planet on a daily basis. How could this be possible? But yet it is. I just bought a pair of shoes because I saw them on a Meta platform. They are so gay, I have to go to an island. Oh, Corey said I can't say that, but I don't make money being politically correct. They are so gay, I have to go to an island to wear them with white pants. With my wife, don't worry. So we're scheduling that right now because I bought this pair of shoes from Meta. I didn't buy them from Meta. They were listed on a Meta website. Yes, that's how they target you. It's that good. And 3.2 billion people good a day. Stay in the market. Buy good things. Get some good advice from somebody. If you want a portfolio reviewed, we could do that for you. You don't have to invest here ever. Okay, we never shove paperwork in front of people. Now, if you come to me with a $10 IRA, it's going to take some time. We do manage money here. We write books here. We do other things here. We want you to be part of it. Go on the website, Sin of Retirement. Get some merch for your liberal friends to drive them nuts. I am David Szafranski, a real American, a true red-blooded patriot, and the voice you can trust.